The academy stood tall under the silver skies of the galactic capital, its walls shining with banners from 100 alien worlds. Inside its grand hall, thousands of cadets gathered, each from a different species. They had come to prove themselves, to show courage and strength. Today was the day of the trial of honor. In the center of the hall stood a huge cage, built of black steel that shimmered with protective energy. Inside it something moved, something heavy, something alive. Claws scraped against the metal and deep growls echoed like thunder. The crowd shifted nervously. Everyone knew what was inside. The apex predator, a creature caught from the death jungles of a forbidden world. Every year the academy released this predator, and every year one cadet had to face it. The trial was simple: survive against the beast, defeat it if possible. Only then would honor be granted. Only then could one rise in rank. The announcer, an old alien with 4 eyes and a voice like cracking stone, lifted his staff. Silence spread. Cadets, the academy calls upon the brave, who will face the predator this year, who will step forward to prove their honor. For a moment, no one moved. Even the strongest alien warriors, covered in armor and spikes, looked away. The predator roared inside the cage, shaking the steel bars. The sound sent shivers down every spine. Whispers filled the hall. Some said, "Not me, I am not ready." Others muttered, "It is suicide then." From the back of the crowd, a soft voice spoke, "I will." Heads turned. Thousands of eyes fell upon a single figure. It was a human girl, small compared to the towering aliens, her uniform simple, her hands steady at her sides. She stepped forward with calm steps, her dark hair shining under the hall's light. The aliens laughed. A human? Did she lose her mind? Humans are weak, humans are fragile. This is no place for them. A tall reptilian cadet hissed, "She will die in a breath." She does not even know what claws feel like, but the girl did not stop. She walked to the center where the announcer stood. She raised her hand, her eyes locked on the cage, her voice clear. "I volunteer." The announcer blinked, all 4 eyes widening. "A human," he whispered. "You understand what you are asking, child. This is not a game." The girl nodded. "I know." "And still, I volunteer." Gasps ran through the crowd. The academy masters, sitting high in their golden chairs, leaned forward. Never in history had a human volunteered for the predator trial. They always stayed at the edges of power, unnoticed, underestimated. But here stood one, daring to face death itself. The cage rattled again. The predator's yellow eyes burned from the darkness, its breath steaming like fire. The announcer finally struck his staff on the ground. "So be it. The human girl has volunteered. The trial will begin." Panic and excitement mixed in the hall. Some aliens whispered bets, some shook their heads, others sneered, "Foolish human. Her bones will decorate the sand in seconds." The girl stood silent, her face calm. But inside her chest, her heart beat fast. She remembered her father's voice from years ago. Strength is not in size, but in will. When fear comes, face it, and fear will bow. The cage doors creaked, chains lifted. The predator roared again, louder than thunder. Every cadet covered their ears, but the girl did not move, her eyes steady. Aliens could not believe it. How could she stand so still? The announcer raised his hand. "Cadets, remember this day. For either we will witness a human's foolish death, or we will witness something never seen before." The predator smashed against the bars one last time, and the gates slammed open. Dust rose as the beast stepped out. Its claws dug into the ground, its muscles rippled like iron. Its head taller than 3 men, its fangs dripping with venom. The crowd held its breath. Silence stretched, all eyes on the human girl who stood alone before the nightmare. She whispered only one word, "Come," and the predator answered with a roar that shook the very walls of the academy. The roar of the predator still echoed in the academy hall. The sound carried into every corner. Cadets trembled. Even the proudest alien warriors shifted in fear. But the human girl stood there, small and calm, her eyes never leaving the beast. The announcer lowered his staff and stepped back, his voice deep and heavy. "The trial begins." Yet before the fight could start, whispers spread like wildfire among the crowd. Aliens leaned close to each other, their voices sharp and mocking. A serpent-like cadet hissed, "This is madness. Humans are soft, their bones break with one swipe. She will not last a breath, a heavy tusked warrior laughed. Her species is weak. They have no claws, no venom, no armor skin. This fight is already over. Another cadet, tall and covered in quills, sneered. Maybe the Academy wants a joke. Perhaps this is just a lesson to remind us, humans should stay servants. Their words were cruel, but they carried truth in alien eyes. To them, humans were nothing more than frail creatures of a small world, their history filled with defeats and struggles. What chance did one girl have against the predator? But while the aliens whispered doubt, the girl closed her eyes for a moment. She heard nothing but the beating of her own heart. Slow, steady, strong. She remembered her training, nights running through forests on Earth, mornings where her father made her lift stones until her arms burned. Hours of watching animals move, learning to see patterns, to know when they would strike. She opened her eyes again, and a strange silence fell. Though the crowd mocked her, though fear clawed at the edges of her mind, her gaze was steady. She was not here to prove herself to them. She was here to prove something deeper. From the high balcony, the masty members of the Academy watched. One of them, a gray-skinned alien with horns, leaned close to another foolish girl. She will be crushed in moments. But the oldest master, his eyes sharp as glass, whispered, "Wait, do not judge too soon. There is something in her stance." Down below, the predator clawed the ground, its yellow eyes fixed on the human. It circled slowly, muscles sliding under its dark hide, each step heavy, deliberate. The sand trembled beneath its weight. The crowd chanted, "Finish her, predator! Finish her!" The announcer shouted. "Silence! Let the trial speak." The girl bent her knees, lowering her center, her hands loose at her sides. She looked fragile, but every movement of hers was measured, waiting, watching. One alien cadet spat on the ground. "Look at her, pretending she can fight. She will scream when it bites her." Yet another cadet frowned, uneasy. "Did you see her eyes? They are not afraid." The predator growled, a sound so deep it shook the bones. Then it lunged. A blur of claws and teeth, gasps, filled the hall. Every cadet expected blood, expected the girl to be crushed instantly, but at the last moment she moved. Her body twisted with a speed that made the predator's claw miss by a hair. The strike cracked stone, sparks flying. The hall erupted in shock. Impossible. How did she move like that? She did not answer. She only stepped back, her breathing even, her eyes locked on the predator's chest. Not its claws, not its teeth, but its rhythm. The predator roared again, its anger growing. It lunged a second time, faster, stronger. Once more, the girl slipped away, not untouched. The beast's claw grazed her arm, cutting through her uniform. But instead of fear, her lips curled into a small smile. The aliens froze. A smile after being touched by the predator. What kind of madness was this? The whispers grew louder. "She is insane. No, she is playing with death. No, she is learning." The quilled cadet shook his head. "No one learns against a predator. It kills too fast." But the old master on the balcony leaned forward, his voice barely a breath. "Unless she is different, unless she is human." The predator paced now, circling, its instincts warning it. This prey was not prey. This prey was watching it. The girl whispered to herself, her voice so soft only she could hear. "Pattern, find the pattern." The hall was thick with tension. No one laughed anymore. No one cheered. They only watched, their doubt turning slowly into something else. For the first time in Academy history, the predator hesitated, and for the first time, the aliens whispered not of weakness, but of fear. Fear of what the human girl might become. The arena doors slammed shut behind the girl. The sound echoed like a hammer across the Academy. Dust drifted through the high beams of light. The predator paced before her, its claws carving deep scars into the sand. The crowd leaned forward. No one whispered now. No one laughed. Their eyes were fixed on the human who stood alone, fragile against the monster. The announcer's voice rose above the silence. "The trial begins." The predator roared, its massive chest shaking. The sound was so loud that even the strongest alien cadets flinched. It lunged with terrifying speed. The girl bent her knees and rolled to the side. The beast's claws smashed the ground where she had stood. Stone cracked, sand exploded, gasps filled the hall. She had dodged again, not by luck, but by sharp reflex. The predator turned its head, its eyes narrowing. It had hunted hundreds of warriors, but never one that moved like this. Never one that dared to stand tall after the first strike. The girl steadied her breathing, her hands loose, her body ready, her eyes locked on the creature's chest, not its teeth, not its claws, but the rhythm of its breathing. From the balconies above, one master whispered, "She is not fighting with strength. She is what?" "Hing studying," a tusked cadet shouted. "This is not fighting. She only runs." Yet another muttered, "No, she is surviving. And survival is the first step to victory." The predator roared again and rushed, its claws swept wide. The girl ducked under the strike, sliding across the sand. She felt the wind of its claws cut through her hair. The crowd gasped louder. She reached the wall, her back touching cold stone. The predator's shadow loomed over her, teeth dripping with venom. The crowd shouted, "It is over!" But the girl pushed herself sideways. The beast slammed into the wall. Stone shattered, dust clouded the air. Aliens shielded their eyes. When the dust cleared, the girl was still standing, her uniform torn, her arm bleeding, but her gaze steady. The predator shook its head, stunned by its own impact. It growled, furious. She whispered under her breath, "Pattern? You have one." All things do, the predator charged again, this time faster, smarter. It feinted left, then struck right, its claws cutting across her side. Pain ripped through her, but she gritted her teeth. She stumbled but did not fall. The crowd erupted. "See, she bleeds, she is finished." But then they saw her expression, her jaw tight, her eyes still sharp. She was hurt, yet she smiled. Aliens fell silent. The quilled cadet muttered, "What kind of creature smiles at pain?" The predator snarled, circling. It was confused. Prey should scream, prey should fall, but this prey refused. The girl crouched low, her breathing heavy. She whispered again, not to the crowd, not to the predator, but to herself. "You are only a beast, and beasts can be beaten." Suddenly the predator lunged higher, leaping into the air. Its shadow swallowed her whole. The crowd screamed. The announcer raised his staff, ready to call the end. But in that instant the girl moved. She rolled under its leap, her hand grabbing a broken spear that had been left in the sand from past trials. The predator landed, turning with fury, and froze when it saw the weapon in her hand. Gasps shook the hall. No one expected her to arm herself, the reptilian cadet hissed. "It does not matter. The weapon is too small." But the old master whispered, "It is not the weapon that matters. It is the will." The predator roared and charged again. The girl braced the spear, her arms trembling but firm. The beast struck, claws tearing the air. She twisted at the last second, the spear slicing across its shoulder. Blood sprayed, dark and steaming. The crowd erupted in chaos. The predator roared louder than ever. Pain in its voice, rage in its eyes. The girl staggered back, her arms burning, but she stood tall, her gaze never wavering. The announcer's voice cracked across the hall. "Cadets, witness this. The human has drawn blood from the predator." Silence followed. A silence so deep it felt heavy. And then whispers began. Whispers not of weakness, but of fear. What if she wins? What if humans are not weak? What if humanity is more dangerous than all of us? The predator lowered itself, muscles coiling, its eyes glowing with fury. It would not stop. It would not forgive. And the girl whispered, "Come then, show me everything." The arena trembled as beast and human prepared to clash again. The fight had only begun. The predator's roar shook the arena like a storm. Sand lifted into the air. Banners along the walls trembled. Cadets covered their ears. The sound felt like claws tearing through their skulls. The beast's wound bled dark and heavy, steaming against the cold sand. Its eyes burned brighter, not just with hunger, but with fury. No prey had ever heard it before, and now rage consumed it. The girl gripped the broken spear tighter, her arms trembling. Blood ran from her side where the claws had cut her. Yet her eyes glowed with a strange fire. She whispered to herself, "I am still standing." From the balconies above, masters leaned forward, their expression ends shifting from mockery to unease. The old master spoke softly. "This fight has changed. The predator is no longer hunting. It is seeking vengeance." The beast charged faster than before, its claws a blur, its teeth snapping like blades. The girl dodged, ducked, rolled, each movement desperate, each escape a hair away from death. The crowd gasped again and again. Each near strike could have ended her, but the predator was not only fast, it was learning too. Its attacks became sharper, its feints more clever. It tried to corner her, force her against the wall where she would have no escape. The girl's chest heaved with breath, her vision blurred, her wound burned like fire, but she did not give in. Her father's words rang in her mind. When the world tries to break you, stand until it breaks itself. The predator struck again, claws carving into the wall as she leapt aside. Stone shattered, fragments rained down. She stabbed the spear forward, but the beast twisted. The weapon missed its heart and only cut along its ribs. Blood sprayed, the predator screamed louder. Aliens in the crowd shouted, "Impossible! No one draws blood twice." Others hissed in fear. If a human can do this, what else are they hiding? The predator's rage boiled. It slammed its tail across the arena. The blow caught the girl's legs. She crashed into the sand, pain exploding through her body. The crowd cheered. Yes, it is over. The predator loomed above her, jaws wide, saliva dripping, but the girl rolled. The beast's teeth snapped against stone, sparks flying. She gasped for air, her spear broken in half. Only a jagged piece remained. Blood ran down her arm, down her leg, her strength failing, yet she pushed herself to her feet. The crowd fell silent. How could she rise again? The predator's eyes narrowed. It had seen prey crawl, it had seen prey beg, but it had never seen prey stand and moan. To stare at it like an equal, the girl lifted the broken spear, her voice raw but clear. "Come then, monster, I am not done." The crowd froze, her words echoed like fire. The predator howled and attacked again, claw after claw, faster, harder. The arena floor broke beneath its strikes. The girl moved with every ounce of will, ducking, sliding, spinning. The broken spear slashed again and again, small cuts forming across the beast's body. The crowd gasped. She was carving it, little by little, but the predator's power was overwhelming. One strike smashed into her shoulder. She flew across the sand, crashing against the wall. The hall erupted in screams. Her body slumped, blood dripping. The announcer raised his staff, ready to call it finished. But then the girl pushed her hand against the wall. She staggered, her knees shaking, and rose again. The announcer's voice shook. "She still stands." Aliens stared wide-eyed, some in awe, some in terror. The predator roared, furious, yet something inside it shifted. Its rage mixed with confusion. Why did this fragile creature not fall? Why did it keep rising? The girl's lips bled, her body bruised, but she smiled through the pain, a smile not of madness but of defiance. The old master whispered to himself, "This is no ordinary human. This is the spirit of their kind." Unyielding, the predator circled again, slower now. Its rage was burning hot. But behind its eyes a flicker of doubt appeared. The girl whispered, "You bleed, you doubt, you can fall." She raised the broken spear, her body trembling but her will unbroken. The predator lowered its stance, muscles coiling, preparing for one final storm of fury, and the crowd leaned forward, holding their breath, knowing the next clash would decide not just the fight, but the place of humanity in the galaxy. The beast roared and charged. The girl screamed and met it head-on. The arena shook with the collision, dust and blood rising together. The fight of rage and will had reached its peak. The arena trembled with the sound of the clash. Say, and flew, stone cracked. The predator's claws struck like lightning. The girl's broken spear flashed like a spark in the storm. The beast forced her back again and again, its size, its weight, its fury, each strike a wall of death. Her body bled from fresh wounds. Her breath came ragged, yet still she stood, still she moved. The crowd shouted in chaos. Some screamed for her fall, others whispered in disbelief. Never had a human lasted this long. Never had anyone fought with such stubborn will. The predator lunged, its massive paw swung down. The girl blocked with her spear. Wood cracked. The weapon snapped in half. She stumbled backward. The predator roared in triumph. But then something strange happened. Instead of fear, instead of despair, the girl tossed the broken weapon aside. She clenched her fists and raised her right arm. Only one hand now. Gasps rippled through the hall. She would fight bare-handed against the predator. Madness. The predator growled, amused and enraged. It pounced, claws wide, teeth glinting. The girl sidestepped, her body twisting with trained reflex. Her hand shot out. She grabbed the beast's forearm, her small hand against its giant claw. The crowd gasped louder. Her grip tightened. Muscles in her arm flared, veins burned under her skin. With a cry she pulled and the predator's charge staggered. Its massive frame jolted sideways. The arena fell silent. A human girl with one hand had forced the apex predator off balance. The crowd erupted. Impossible. Impossible. She cannot. She should not. On the balcony, Masters leaned forward. The old master's eyes glowed. There it is, he whispered. True human strength. The predator snarled, shaking itself free. Fury doubling. It lunged again, faster, stronger. The girl rolled, rose to her knees, and when the beast came close, she caught it again, her hand gripping its leg this time. Shh! He screamed with effort, her body burning. But the predator's charge slowed, dust spraying from its claws. Aliens in the crowd clutched their heads, their voices trembling. What are humans? How can such a small creature hold the beast? The predator roared, its tail whipped, its claws slashed, but the girl refused to let go. Her eyes burned with fire. She shouted through the struggle, I am not prey, I am human. With one final burst of strength, she twisted her body and threw. The predator crashed sideways into the sand, stone cracked beneath its weight. The arena shook with the impact. Silence followed, then chaos. Cadets screamed, some in awe, some in terror. The announcer himself could not find words. The predator rose, its body bleeding from cuts and bruises, its eyes filled with rage, but also confusion. Never before had prey thrown it down. Never before had prey defied its power. The girl stood tall, blood dripping, her arm trembling but her stance unbroken. The tusked cadet whispered, No one told us. No one told us. Humans had such strength. The quilled cadet's voice shook. Maybe they did not want us to know. The predator charged again, desperate now, its honor burning. The girl's body screamed with pain, but her will roared louder. She caught its claw mid-swing, her small hand gripping against a force that should have shattered her bones. The crowd gasped. Some fell to their knees. The predator's eyes widened. In that instant, it realized the truth. This was no weak prey. This was no fragile child. This was something it had never faced before. The girl tightened her grip, her muscles straining, her voice low. You bleed, you fall, and you will kneel. She wrenched the predator's arm back. Bones cracked. The beast roared in pain. The arena thundered with disbelief. The announcer's voice finally boomed. Cadets, remember this day. Remember this sight. A human with one hand has broken the predator's strike. Silence swept the hall again. Silence heavier. Then stone, the predator stumbled, its fury shaken, its pride shattered. And in that silence, fear crept into the hearts of every alien watching. Fear of the girl, fear of her species, fear of humanity. The girl raised her fist, blood dripping, her voice clear. I fight not for honor. I fight to show you what humans are. The predator snarled again, but deep inside, doubt coiled like a chain. The battle was not over, but the galaxy had already changed. The predator's growl rumbled through the arena. Deeper, darker. The sound of rage mixed with pain. Blood dripped from its wounds. Steam rose from its breath. Its claws still sharp, but slower now. The girl stood across from it, her uniform torn to rags, her body covered in bruises, her arm bleeding freely, her legs trembling, yet she still stood straight, her gaze sharp as fire. The crowd of cadets no longer shouted mockery. No one laughed. They only stared. The silence heavy with disbelief. A reptilian cadet whispered, The predator bleeds more than she does. Another muttered, She should be dead. But she rises again and again. The old master on the balcony leaned forward, his voice calm. Now the predator knows fear. The beast slammed its tail against the ground. Dust clouded the air. It roared and charged, its muscles burning with desperate strength. The girl braced herself, her one hand clenched, her eyes fixed on its chest. She waited. She watched. The predator struck, claws sweeping wide. She ducked, sand sprayed. The claws missed. She rolled forward and slammed her fist into its jaw. A small human hand against a monster's skull. The impact cracked like thunder. The predator stumbled. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Girl staggered too, pain burning through her arm. But she smiled through the blood. The predator roared louder. Its pride shattered. It swung its claws wildly, faster and faster. The girl could not dodge all. One strike caught her ribs. Pain ripped through her. She coughed blood, but she refused to fall. She planted her feet, each step heavy but steady. From the balconies, a young cadet whispered, "This is not just strength, this is something else." His friend nodded. "This is will." The predator lunged again, its teeth snapping. She caught its snout with both hands this time, blood dripping from her palms as the teeth sliced her skin. She pushed with every muscle in her body. The beast fought back, its jaws grinding closer. The crowd screamed. The girl's knees shook. Her arms trembled. Yet her eyes never broke. She whispered through gritted teeth, "I will not bow." Suddenly, with a roar of her own, she shoved. The predator's head snapped sideways, its jaws slamming into the sand. The arena shook with the sound. Aliens in the crowd staggered back. Some clutched the railings. Some fell to their knees. The announcer's voice cracked. "Cadets, behold, the predator is driven into the ground by a human." The predator thrashed, humiliated. It struck again, its tail whipping, its claws desperate. The girl was thrown back, her body slammed against the wall. Her breath nearly gone, she slid down, blood painting the stone. The crowd gasped, thinking it was over. But then, slowly, painfully, she pushed herself up again, her knees shaking, her arm limp, but her eyes blazing like fire. Aliens whispered in awe, "She cannot die. She does not stop." "What are humans?" the predator roared, but its sound cracked with doubt, its steps heavy, its fury mixed with fear. The girl stepped forward, slow, steady, her breath ragged but her voice clear. "You are strong, predator, but strength without will is nothing." The crowd froze. The words cut through the hall like a blade. The predator lunged again, one final desperate strike. The girl met it head on, her fist driving upward into its chest. The impact echoed like thunder. The beast reeled back, coughing blood of its own. The crowd erupted in chaos. The announcer shouted, "Impossible. Lay!" The predator bleeds inside. The predator staggered, for the first time its body trembling, its eyes wide. The girl raised her bloodied fist, her body shaking, her voice a whisper. "You feel it now, don't you?" The end. Aliens stared wide-eyed. The Academy Masters leaned forward, and for the first time in history, the apex predator of the Academy took a step back. The arena was silent. The predator's chest rose and fell with heavy breath, its wounds dripping, its body trembling, its roar broken by pain. Never in its life had it known fear. But now its eyes flickered with something new. Across from it stood the human girl, blood soaking her torn uniform, her fists raw, her arms shaking, her knees unsteady, yet her eyes blazed brighter than any flame. The crowd of cadets no longer mocked, no longer doubted. They leaned forward in silence, their faces pale, their voices trapped in their throats. The announcer's staff trembled in his hand. Never had he seen such a trial. Never had the predator been pushed so far. The predator roared again, desperate, furious, ashamed. Its claws dug deep into the ground. It launched forward with everything it had, its body a blur of fury. The girl did not move at first. She stood still, her breath steady, her eyes locked on its chest. She whispered under her breath, "Pattern, I see it." And then, at the last moment, she moved. Her body twisted. Her hand caught the predator's claw mid-swing. Gasps shook the arena. Her grip tightened, her muscles screaming, veins burning, yet she held. She stopped the predator's strike with one hand. The beast snarled, pushed harder, but the girl roared back, a sound so raw it froze the crowd. She pulled, twisted, her fist slamming into the predator's chest again. Bones cracked. The beast staggered. The crowd erupted. "Impossible! Impossible!" The predator swung again, desperate, its tail whipping. But she ducked, rolled, came up fast, her body a blur. She drove her knee into its jaw, the sound like stone breaking. Blood sprayed from the predator's mouth. It stumbled, its legs weak, its fury collapsing into panic. The girl staggered too, nearly falling. Her body broken, but her spirit carried her forward. She raised her fist high, her voice loud. "I am human. I do not kneel." With every ounce of strength left, she charged. Her fist drove straight into the predator's throat. The impact echoed across the arena. The beast crashed backward into the sand, the ground shaking. Silence followed. The predator lay still, its chest heaving once, twice, then no more. Its head slumped, its body defeated. The announcer's staff fell from his hand, his voice shaking. The predator is defeated. The arena exploded. Chaos, gasps, cries of disbelief, shouts of awe. The crowd of cadets screamed in shock, some in fear, some in respect. Aliens who once mocked humans now stared at the girl like she was fire itself. Unyielding, unstoppable, the tusked cadet whispered, "She should not exist." The quilled cadet shook his head. "No, she does, and so do all her kind." From the balcony, the old master's voice cut through the storm. "This is humanity." The girl stood in the center of the arena, blood dripping, chest rising and falling, her fists still clenched, her gaze sweeping across the hall. She did not smile, she did not boast, she simply stood, unbroken. The announcer's voice rose again. "Cadets, masters, remember this day. For the first time, a human has defeated the apex predator. Not with claws, not with armor, but with will." Silence returned. Heavy. Every alien felt it. Something greater than victory, something greater than honor. They realized in that moment, humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was no longer forgotten. The girl whispered softly to herself, "This is only the beginning." The predator's body lay still in the sand, but its fall echoed far beyond the arena, into Eve. Rye mind watching, into the history of the Academy, into the future of the galaxy. For this was the day a human girl showed them that spirit can conquer even the fiercest monster. This was the day the galaxy began to fear and respect humanity.